Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt manipulated, deceived, or controlled by someone, maybe even without realizing it? Maybe it was a boss who knew exactly how to push your buttons, a friend who always seemed to get what they wanted at your expense, or a romantic partner whose every word seemed perfectly timed to keep you hooked. What if I told you that these manipulative tactics are not just happenstance, but deliberate strategies designed to take advantage of you? Imagine this. You're at a crossroads in life, trying to make a crucial decision. You feel the pressure mounting. Your emotions are all over the place. Then someone steps in, perhaps a friend, a colleague, or even a loved one, and suddenly it feels like they know exactly what to say, how to make you feel, and what to do to make you doubt your own judgment. You feel the pull, the tug on your emotions. You begin to second guess yourself, your decisions, your very self-worth, and before you know it, you've been subtly but surely manipulated. That, my friends, is the power of dark psychology, the hidden, insidious tricks that are used to control and influence others. The art of emotional manipulation, persuasion, and mind games that people use in everyday life to subtly influence and control others for their own benefit. And today, I'm going to reveal to you the dark psychology tricks that they don't want you to know. Because once you understand them, you can not only protect yourself from them, but you can use them to your advantage. But here's the truth. Understanding these tricks isn't just about protecting yourself from being manipulated. It's about taking control of your own life. It's about gaining the power to make better decisions, to spot manipulation when it happens, and to steer your life in the direction you want, free from the shadows of others' control. One of the most dangerous tools in dark psychology is emotional manipulation. We all know that emotions are powerful. They influence our decisions, guide our actions, and shape our relationships. But what if someone could tap into your emotions to control you, to steer you in a direction that benefits them rather than you? Emotional manipulation is the art of influencing someone's feelings to get them to act in a certain way. And the most insidious part of this trick is that it's often done under the guise of caring, concern, or affection. A classic example is the use of guilt. How many times have you been made to feel guilty for not doing something, for not being there for someone, or for choosing your own needs over someone else's? If you really cared about me, you would do this. You're the only one who can help me. I've always been there for you, but now you won't do this one thing for me? These phrases, so simple yet so powerful, tap directly into your guilt, a deeply ingrained emotion that can make you second guess your decisions and give in to the pressure of someone else's wants. When you feel guilty, your natural response is to want to relieve that discomfort. So you give in, you do what the other person wants, often to the detriment of your own needs and desires. That's emotional manipulation in its purest form. This manipulation doesn't always happen with malicious intent. In many cases, the person doing the manipulating may not even be aware of it. They may genuinely believe they are just asking for help or expressing their needs. But when you're the one on the receiving end, it doesn't matter whether the manipulation is intentional or not. What matters is that your emotions are being used against you. To outsmart emotional manipulation, you must first become aware of how it works. You must learn to recognize the tactics used and develop a strong emotional boundary. When someone tries to manipulate your feelings, stop for a moment and ask yourself, is this person trying to make me feel guilty, anxious, or responsible for something that's not mine to carry? When you can recognize these emotional triggers, you take back control. You can protect your emotional space and avoid being pulled into someone else's emotional web. Another trick they don't want you to know is the use of psychological triggers. These are subtle cues or manipulative strategies designed to influence your behavior without you even realizing it. The most common psychological trick is called the foot in the door technique. This technique works by getting you to agree to a small, seemingly harmless request, something that doesn't feel threatening. Then, once you've agreed, the person asks for a bigger request, one that is often much harder to say no to. For example, imagine you've been asked by a friend to help them with a small task, maybe to pick up a few groceries for them. Doesn't seem like a big deal, you agree, and everything is fine. But then, the next week, they ask you to help them move into a new apartment, a much bigger request. Now, because you've already agreed to something small, it feels difficult to say no to the bigger request. You've already started to build a pattern of compliance, and it's harder to break that pattern without feeling guilty. The foot in the door technique works because it exploits the natural human tendency to be consistent. Once you've made a commitment, even a small one, your brain will want to stay consistent with that decision, and you'll be more likely to say yes to a bigger request. It's not just friends who use this technique. Marketers, advertisers, and even employers often use it to their advantage. Have you ever been asked to take a free trial of a product or service? It seems like no big deal at the time, but then when the subscription is up, you feel almost obligated to continue paying for it because you've already committed to using it. To outsmart this trick, you need to develop a heightened sense of awareness. If someone is asking for a small favor and you suspect that a larger request is coming, take a step back. Ask yourself, what's the bigger picture here? Am I agreeing to something now that will lead me to make a bigger commitment later? By recognizing this tactic, you can make more conscious choices about what you agree to and when you draw the line. The third trick they don't want you to know about is social proof. Social proof is the psychological phenomenon where people tend to follow the actions of others, especially when they are uncertain about what to do. It's the reason why we check reviews before buying a product, why we follow the crowd, and why we're influenced by what others are doing. It's a powerful tool because it taps into our innate need to fit in, to be part of the group. But social proof can be used to manipulate you in subtle ways. Have you ever found yourself agreeing with a decision or action simply because everyone else was doing it? This is the essence of herd mentality. When you do something because everyone else is doing it rather than based on your own values or beliefs. This can be seen in everything from peer pressure to marketing strategies to political movements. People know this. Marketers use social proof to sell you products by showing you how many people are already using them, and employers use it to push certain agendas by creating a group consensus. It's not just about influencing you in a big way, it's about planting the seed of doubt in your mind, making you question your own decisions and beliefs, and nudging you to conform to what everyone else is doing. The key to outsmarting social proof is to recognize that just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean it's the right thing for you. You must learn to question the herd mentality and trust your own judgment. When everyone else is following the crowd, stop and ask yourself, is this truly aligned with my values? Is this decision based on my authentic desires? Or is it influenced by what others are doing? One of the most powerful ways to protect yourself from the manipulative use of social proof is by developing your independent thinking. High-value individuals who are in control of their lives often make decisions based on what's best for them, not based on what others expect or what others are doing. They are able to detach themselves from the herd mentality and think critically about every decision they make. As we reach the conclusion of this speech, let's take a step back and reflect on the ultimate lesson these dark psychology tricks teach us. The people who use manipulation and mind games often rely on one thing, your lack of awareness. They depend on your emotional triggers, your desire to please, and your fear of being an outsider. They rely on the fact that you're too distracted or too caught up in the flow of things to question their tactics. But once you know the tricks they use, once you understand how dark psychology works, you can break free from the manipulation. You can step into your power knowing that you have the tools to protect yourself from emotional exploitation. The key to outsmarting these games isn't in trying to manipulate others back. It's in simply being aware. When you know what's happening, you can see the tricks for what they are. You can reclaim control over your life, make decisions that align with your true self, and protect your peace from those who seek to disrupt it. And when you walk with that power, when you walk knowing that you are no longer a puppet, but the one holding the strings, you are truly free. So I challenge you today, stand tall, trust your instincts, and never allow anyone to play you like a game. Once you start recognizing these dark psychology tricks for what they are, you will take back control of your life. And that is where the true power lies. It's easy to become disoriented in a world filled with manipulation, emotional tactics, and social pressures. We live in an age where technology, advertising, and even personal interactions have evolved to become more sophisticated in how they influence our decisions, behaviors, and beliefs. It's no longer just about someone trying to sell you a product. It's about creating an environment where you are constantly bombarded with psychological triggers designed to keep you in a state of emotional flux. These tricks are not isolated to marketing or media. They occur daily in the relationships we hold, the people we encounter, and even within ourselves. Think about the last time you felt confused about a decision or uncertain about the intentions of someone around you. That confusion didn't happen by accident, it was orchestrated. Whether it was a simple comment, a change in tone, or the way someone presented themselves, it was all part of a larger game being played. And it's not just about what they want from you, but about what you are willing to give away. The more you give up your power, the easier it becomes to control your mind, your emotions, and your actions. That's why we need to talk about the importance of understanding these tricks, not just from a defensive stance, but from a proactive perspective. So we can live our lives not as victims, but as empowered individuals who control their own destinies. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that manipulation is something that only happens to other people, or that it's something that can only occur in extreme situations. But manipulation is a subtle art. It's often presented in ways that seem perfectly normal, even benevolent. Someone who loves you may try to control you in the name of protecting you. A friend who claims to have your best interests at heart might be subtly taking advantage of your loyalty. These are the hidden tricks of dark psychology at play, finesse at its finest, designed to keep you in the loop, feeding someone else's agenda. When you begin to grasp these tactics, it becomes clear that recognizing manipulation isn't just about spotting the bad actors in your life. It's about seeing the patterns, understanding when emotional triggers are being used, when your insecurities are being played upon, or when your need for validation is being harnessed as a tool to get you to behave in a certain way. It's about understanding that these tricks are not some grand conspiracy, but a matter of human nature and the power dynamics that exist in all of us. And the first thing to realize is that manipulation often works because it plays on the deep primal desires we all share. The desire for connection, the desire for approval, the desire for love. These desires are not inherently bad, but they are often used to control us. Consider the times when you have found yourself bending your own will to please someone else. Perhaps you've stayed in a situation longer than you should have because you didn't want to disappoint them. Maybe you've been manipulated into doing something you didn't want to do because someone made you feel guilty or obligated. These are the times when we forget who we are, what we stand for, and what we truly want. In those moments, we give up our power in exchange for fleeting comfort or a false sense of connection. But what happens when we regain that power? What happens when we stop allowing ourselves to be swayed by every emotional trigger or attempt at manipulation? What happens when we take full responsibility for our decisions, our emotions, and our lives? That's when the real magic happens. That's when we can step into our highest potential, no longer a puppet controlled by invisible strings, but a master of our own fate. In a world where people often seek to influence our choices, we must remind ourselves of the incredible strength we already possess every day we make choices. Every decision we make has the potential to shift the course of our lives. But these decisions aren't always easy. They come with challenges, doubts, and the constant pull of external pressure. To navigate through these challenges, we need to be conscious of how we're being influenced. We need to understand we're being manipulated, not just by others, but by the expectations we place on ourselves. We often manipulate ourselves without realizing it. We tell ourselves that we are not good enough, that we need to change, that we need to perform better in order to gain approval or love. We push ourselves beyond our limits, exhaust ourselves emotionally and physically because we believe it's the only way to be accepted or valued. We are in essence playing our own version of the games we think we need to play to earn, but the truth is that you are already enough. You don't need to bend yourself into a shape that doesn't align with who you truly are. You don't need to prove your worth to anyone. Once you realize this, you step into your true power. You begin to understand that emotional manipulation, whether external or internal, can no longer dictate your life. The second important lesson in this battle for empowerment is recognizing that not all manipulations are malicious. We often think of manipulation as a conscious, deliberate act, but in reality, many people manipulate others because they themselves are trapped in their own webs of insecurity. Their behaviors, often born out of fear, need, or the desire for control, reflect their own struggles and emotional wounds. For example, a partner who withholds affection may not necessarily be trying to hurt you intentionally. They may be acting out of their own fear of vulnerability or rejection. A friend who constantly seeks your approval may be doing so because they lack the confidence to validate themselves without external validation. When you understand that manipulation is often a defense mechanism or a symptom of deeper insecurities, you can approach these situations with compassion. You are not only able to protect yourself, but you also become a source of support for others who are struggling with their own emotional battles. This doesn't mean you should allow others to treat you poorly, but it does mean you can choose how you respond with greater empathy and understanding. By recognizing when others are trying to manipulate you, whether consciously or unconsciously, you gain the ability to create healthier boundaries. These boundaries not only protect your emotional well-being, but they also serve as a reflection of your respect for yourself and your needs. Setting these boundaries is not an act of selfishness. It's an act of self-respect. When you communicate your boundaries with clarity and confidence, you empower others to respect you, and you show them that their behavior will not dictate your emotional state. As you continue to sharpen your awareness of these psychological tricks, you must also focus on building your emotional resilience. This means developing a mindset that allows you to withstand the pressure of manipulation, whether from others or from within yourself. It means understanding that your self-worth is not tied to anyone else's behavior or validation. It's about knowing that you are enough just as you are. When you adopt this mindset, you are no longer vulnerable to the emotional highs and lows that come from seeking validation from others. This emotional resilience also allows you to recognize when others are trying to control you through gaslighting, a manipulation tactic designed to make you question your own perception of reality. A person using gaslighting may deny facts, manipulate evidence, or make you feel like you're overreacting, making it incredibly difficult to trust yourself. But when you strengthen your emotional resilience, you become more attuned to your inner truth, you recognize when things don't feel right, and you trust yourself enough to speak up, even if it's uncomfortable. Imagine this. You are in a situation where someone is trying to gaslight you, perhaps denying something that's clearly happened or telling you that you're too sensitive or overreacting. In the past, you might have questioned yourself or backed down in the face of their accusations. But when you've built emotional resilience, you stand firm in your truth. You don't engage in their manipulation because you know who you are and you trust that your feelings and perceptions are valid. You refuse to allow anyone to distort your reality. This kind of strength comes from within and is a direct result of mastering your emotional boundaries, recognizing manipulation, and refusing to allow others to control your narrative. By understanding these dark psychology tricks, you empower yourself to make better decisions, protect your emotional well-being, and lead a life filled with authenticity and strength. You begin to see the world differently, not as a place full of threats, but as a space where you can thrive. You realize that no one has the power to control you unless you allow it. You take back your life one decision at a time and live with intention. The world is full of challenges, obstacles, and people who may try to manipulate you, but once you understand these tricks and gain the confidence to protect yourself from them, you free yourself from the shackles of emotional manipulation. You take control of your future and you live life on your own terms. And when you do that, you not only become the best version of yourself, you become an inspiration to others, showing them that they too can stand up, take control, and live with power, purpose, and clarity.